Hi, Internet. Welcome to the Troyan YouTube channel, and we're doing another ranking video today. I thought it'd be fun since I'm a big Batman fan, and I have basically every theatrical Batman movie just in my personal collection minus two. So I thought, you know what? I might as well rank the Batman films. Batman is my favorite American superhero, and I thought it'd be fun to, dive into my ranking of the theatrical releases since, like I said, I own all of them minus two. And I thought it'd be fun to share them with you people. And, if you're a Batman fan like me, let me know your ranking in the comments below, because I'm sure that my ranking is going to be very different than yours, and there's going to be a lot of discussion. And so, when going through my ranking, they're based upon like my personal preference, like how likely am I to just put on the film and watch it, and how much do I love it? The nostalgia attached, like does it give me the feels? So it's not necessarily purely ranked based upon like these are the order I think in terms of the the quality or if they're the best Batman movie. So, but just personal preference. So there's some movies lower on the list where I might acknowledge this movie is a better movie than so-and-so later on in the list, but it's like, what am I more likely to watch? What gives me more joy out of watching it? What moves me more? And so, obviously, the two that I don't own are at the bottom because they're the ones I'm least likely to watch. So, at the bottom of my list, we've got Justice League. It's boring, is what it comes down to. I just think it's kind of a boring movie. I think all the performances are great, and the fact that you have these great actors in these roles and that you have made a boring movie out of Justice League is really disappointing. I think everyone is great. I think Ezra Miller as Flash is hilarious. I think Ben Affleck is a great Batman. Jason Momoa is great. Like, everyone is great in this movie. It's just it's boring. What can I say? It's a boring film. It doesn't do it for me. I saw it once, and I don't really have any desire to see it again. I'm definitely interested in the Snyder Cut. I think it'll be a much better movie, likely. But what we got was it was just kind of boring and left me feeling meh. I didn't hate it, so I don't hate any of these movies, but it just didn't do anything for me. But next up, we've got the Lego Batman movie. I like this movie a lot. I thought it was funny. I thought it was full of charm. I think it has a lot of great nods and inside jokes for diehard Batman fans. But it didn't strike me as... I know a lot of people say this is the most authentic and best Batman film. I think they're being nuts, and I think they're just trying to be hip and cool. Lego Batman is a different character than Batman. And, it's got a lot of fun, it's got a lot of charm, it's got a lot of whimsy, and it's a great movie. But, it didn't... I enjoyed renting it, but it didn't make me get the urge to like, oh, I need to buy it and own it. Like, I watched it once, I liked it. If I bought it, I'd probably enjoy it and watch it a few more times, but I didn't get the urge to rush out and buy the film after seeing it. I would like to see it again, but I didn't feel like, oh, I have to own this. It's good, but yeah, it just it didn't feel as essential to me. It's a great love letter to longtime fans. Like, all the Easter eggs and references are really, really fun, but it does feel more like a Lego movie than a Batman movie. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if I'm ranking like, what feels like a Batman movie in my heart and soul, it's not necessarily this. But now we're getting to the ones I actually own on physical media. So, next up on the list, we've got Batman the Movie with Adam West on VHS, yo. So, this movie has an amazing opening credit sequence. I think that's just like really cool and dramatic and flashy, and I love like the colors and the spotlights on the villains. I think it's great. The performances are campy and fun. I mean, the bat shark repellent is probably the most memorable scene for this movie. The ending is super ridiculous and actually pretty bleak. But you know what? It's fun. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. I don't think that the Adam West 60s Batman is really what is the true essence of the Batman character, but it's fun. And so it's campy, it's ridiculous, it's silly, but you know what? It's a great time. And like, if you put this on, you're just going to have fun. So, do I think it's... And also, I don't necessarily get the urge to watch the movie as much. And it's probably just because I own it on VHS, never bothered to get it on DVD. And so it's more of a pain in the butt to get the VHS player working. But, I mean, it's a great film. It's a lot of fun. I love all these movies. And I would say maybe this is lower on the list because I'm a child of the '90s, and so this was always an old movie, and some of it is a little bit dated. But like I have a lot of affection for this. Like every one of these movies, I have affection for in different ways. But I think the reason why this is lower than some of the other ones is that there's not anything where I'm really feeling like real like dramatic weight. There's some moments of tension for sure where you're wondering like, oh, how is Batman going to get out of the situation? There's some excitement, but I'm never like there's never anything that's emotionally touching anywhere in the film. And so it's all just like it's campy, it's fun, and there's moments of tension, but there's nothing that like tugs at the heartstrings in this. And so that's why it sort of ranks lower than some of the other films. And so here's some controversy: Batman and Robin above Batman the movie. This is generally considered by most to be the worst Batman film. But I think there's actually some good emotional moments in here. I think all the stuff with Alfred is actually dramatically powerful and well directed. Like those scenes are really great. I think it's visually stunning. I think the score is fantastic. I think the villains are campy, but I think Uma Thurman is like legitimately a great poison ivy. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is just he's fun to watch on screen. And the dynamic between George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell actually is well done here. So I would say, and Alicia Silverstone, she does a great job with what she was given. It's a movie that I think has a lot of fun set pieces, and like it's great visual candy. And while most of it, is just sort of campy and silly, like Batman the movie, I think it does have a lot of heart. And I think, like I said, those Alfred sequences actually are emotionally heavy and make you invested. So while there's a lot of silliness, I think this movie has more heart than people give it credit for. And next up is Batman Forever. I think just basically everyone agrees the first Joel Schumacher Batman movie was better than the second one. I think Val Kilmer is a really great Batman, a great Bruce Wayne. I think he delivers. I think he is better than the Batman movie he's in. And I think if you put him in a different Batman movie, he would be much more fondly remembered as a great Batman. I think Jim Carrey as the Riddler, I think, is the wrong interpretation for the character. But I think it's a great performance. Same with Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. I think both of them get the characters and their essence wrong. But, they're fun to watch on screen. I think the opening sequence with Two-Face, and that entire heist sequence has a lot of menace and is very cool. Action packed. Nicole Kidman is great in this movie. Just and Chris O'Donnell is also great. So a lot of great performances, and I think just a stronger plot than Batman and Robin. Better emotional beats. It was campy and silly, but it was you could get invested into this entire thing easier. Versus Batman and Robin, where it just had like select sequences you were really invested in. And so I think this one gets sort of unfairly lumped with the sequel. And so a lot of people just write off both Schumacher movies. But I mean, this one was well received when it came out. A lot of people liked it. And it still holds up as a fun 90s movie. So next up, we've got Batman Begins. I think the beginning of this movie is really fantastic. And this is a perfect film up until Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, and then it suffers from Justice League syndrome, where it gets just kind of boring. And that is unfortunate because the origin story, all the Ra's al Ghul stuff at the beginning, and the Henry Ducard stuff, his training, the philosophy, all of that, his backstory, is so well done. It is, I'd say, a perfect film up until he becomes Batman, and then it gets kind of boring, which is disappointing. But I would say that first part is so strong, where that first chunk of the movie is stronger than all the films that preceded it on the list, where even though it falls flat once he becomes Batman for me, the rest of that beginning is so good, it just elevates it that high. And where I'd probably rather watch those other movies as entire pieces more than this one, but that beginning part of Batman Begins is so good, I'd rather watch that than all the others. And then another controversial pick, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. The single funniest review of this, or at least the headline, was when one reviewer called it Batman v Superman: Yawn of Justice. Points for your amazing pun, sir. That is great. But I think this is it's a great film. I think there's some parts of it that don't work. Basically, anytime they try to shoehorn Justice League stuff, and then the final battle with Doomsday, I think that stuff doesn't work. I think Wonder Woman doesn't work in this movie, and ironically, people say she's the best part. I disagree. I would say if you cut out Wonder Woman, you cut out the Doomsday fight, and you cut out all the Justice League shoehorning and stuff, I'd say this is it's a great film. I like it quite a bit. I think that Batfleck is really great. I think that Henry Cavill is really great. I found this to be a stronger film than Man of Steel, personally. Yeah, I dig this movie. I understood what they were going for. It worked for me. Like the philosophical musings and battles. I mean, it's basically it's very much a continuation of the Christopher Nolan school of thought as to how to make a Batman movie, and also Zack Snyder's like sort of cynical superhero approach. Like it's sort of like Watchmen meets The Dark Knight. This is what you get. And it worked for me. I think it's really great. I think that the political climate in which we're in makes a movie like this with this kind of philosophy less appealing. But I think in a vacuum it's good, and I think if this movie had come out 10 years prior, everyone would call it brilliant. And I think this one is going to continue to do well as history reviews upon it. So I think, some of the excesses of the movie where they're trying to shoehorn the later films in hurt the film, but I think it's a very strong film otherwise. And so in the same way that like Iron Man 2 was too busy like setting up world building for future installments. I think that this movie is bogged down by some of that, but not that much. And I'd say like there's a solid like 2 hours of great movie in here. So yeah, Batman v Superman, I like it. The Dark Knight Rises. I think another great Batman movie. I think full of great performances. I thought it's really cool how they took elements of the No Man's Land storyline from the comics and made that into a movie. Because if I thought of like Batman storylines, they're unlikely to adapt. The Earthquake storyline where Gotham City becomes like abandoned and like government officials can't get in. I didn't think that's what they would go for. Obviously, they changed it from like a an earthquake to like a terrorist attack and like cutting off the bridges and stuff. But I think it's great. I think Bane is a great villain. I mean, Tom Hardy as Bane, I think, is one of the legendary movie villains. I mean, just a really great cast. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt as, spoilers, Robin, was a cool twist on the character. And it was nice that we got to see the dynamic duo in action in some form in the Christopher Nolan universe. But, it's great that they gave Batman, like, a happy ending and concluded the arc of his character. I think it's a great conclusion to the trilogy. I mean, I don't think it's the strongest film in the trilogy. But I think this one gets ragged on way too much. Like, there's a couple plot holes, a couple things that don't work, but I think overall it's a really strong flick. Batman Returns. There is not enough Batman in this movie, but I think the Batman that you get is amazing. Like Michael Keaton sitting alone, looking at the bat signal. And it's just like that's just such dramatic visual storytelling. I think Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer, two of the best performances, in the entirety of Batman, on the big screen. Just freaking nailing it. Christopher Walken is great. The plot is actually pretty solid. I think Penguin, just like as a villain, like his plot is so menacing and poetic. The direction is great. It's just I think that to make this film stronger, you really needed more Batman. You really needed like an emotional arc for him, other than just being a force of nature stopping the villains. So I think that's a flaw in the writing. But I mean, brilliant film score, brilliant directing, just visually stunning. It's a great film. Love it a lot. But we're in the top 3. Mask of the Phantasm. So this is I think the only animated film other than Lego Batman to be released theatrically. And I think this is great. Batman the Animated Series is sort of the ultimate interpretation of the character in many people's minds. I think it's a great film. I think the Phantasm is a great villain. That it's sort of a shame that this character, which was made for this movie, doesn't get revisited more. But yeah, great character, great plot. This is an excellent Batman origin story all around. Well directed, great score, emotionally powerful. This is one of the most emotionally powerful Batman films with Batman like at the core of it, where I would say like if you only have to watch one film to summarize what is Batman, this might actually be the one. And I think it's the strongest with Batman as the main character in terms of the arc he goes under. Yeah, this is it's a brilliant masterpiece, but there's two movies that I like more than this one. Batman 89. It's an iconic film. Nicholson, Keaton, Kim Basinger. This is it's a great film, and just this feels like Batman so much to me. This is the one I grew up with, watched on VHS all the time as a kid. This is Batman. This is what Batman is. The Danny Elfman score, that classic Batmobile, so many great iconic visual moments in this film. Like this is one that just like it just hits me viscerally, and it's just one of those movies, like one of my favorite movies. Just I could go scene by scene in this movie and just tell you it's brilliant. The Prince soundtrack, it's a banger. Yeah, it's hard to even know what to say because this is just such an iconic piece of pop culture, a classic piece of cinema. I would say that there's another Batman film which is number one on the list, which I think is just a better film overall. I think this one has a solid story, but I think there's another Batman film that is stronger overall, which is The Dark Knight, number one. Probably the film I've seen most in theaters. I saw this 10 times in theaters. Came out senior year of high school. Saw it midnight, like opening night, and thought it was awesome. And then the next day at school, some friends wanted to go. And then I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go again, bro. And then I just kept getting invited to see it. And I was still so pumped, so I just kept going. And then once I got to the seventh time, I realized I was close to double digits and might as well go all the way. And the last couple times I just saw it to reach number 10, but like wasn't really feeling it as much, if I'm being honest. But it's a really rewatchable film. I think that like there's a lot going on in this, and I think the complexity of the story. So if I'm comparing it to Batman 89, I think Michael Keaton is a better Batman than Christian Bale. But I think Christian Bale is a better Bruce Wayne than pretty much any other Bruce Wayne. And I think Harvey Dent's arc in this is really strong. I think Heath Ledger's Joker is phenomenal. But kind of like every character has like a really strong arc. Like, Commissioner Gordon, Gary Oldman's character has a really strong arc. Like everyone, there's all these intertwining arcs that are going on at the same time, and each of them is so well told. The philosophies of the character, like the debates. I think this one like holds up beyond just like a strong superhero movie, which like maybe Batman 89 is, and this is just like a strong movie. Where like you can debate the ethics of these characters for a long time and find different aspects of your worldview in different characters. And so this is more just like a really like dramatic opera where everything is the tension is rising and just all these different perspectives and worldviews clashing. And the thing is like each part of the movie, like there's different parts of it that are told so well. At the beginning, where it's more like a crime drama, is still really interesting, like Batman going to Hong Kong, and then it just goes completely off the rails once the Joker is thrown into the mix. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love all these movies. Like, there's not one that I don't like, except maybe Justice League. Like Justice League is the only one I'm like, I didn't really like that. But every other one of those, I love for different reasons. And so this is my personal ranking in terms of like how much they mean to me, how likely I am to rewatch it. I mean, but like these top two, very close. They're most people's top two. I think that this was such a game changer when it came out and was so visually stunning. And this one just had such a good story that even though I think the visuals in this one aren't nearly what they are in this one. So this one wins in terms of score and in terms of visuals. This one wins in terms of story and acting overall, where I think because it has that stronger ensemble, versus this one is really like the three mains and a couple other like strong supporting characters. Like I think Eckhart is great and Jack Palance's character is great. But like this is like pretty much everyone in this film is so strong. Like Yeah, just a ridiculous amount of talent. Like freaking Morgan Freeman, um, Eric Roberts as like as Maroni. Like there's just like basically everyone in here is just given like those killer like S-rank performances. And this one like Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, like he's alright. And like Billy D. Williams underutilized versus like Aaron Eckhart is maybe the strongest part of this movie for me. And he's a supporting character, although I think his arc is the core of the movie. But I mean, I love all these films. They're great. And I want to know, what your ranking is in the comments below. Does anybody agree with my ranking? Probably not, but if you're that one person, let me know. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to do the liking, the commenting, the subscribing, all those good things, and have a good one. Bye, everyone.